Alright, the new Destined One Alden is here, so let's begin, along with some Zorga support. So let's start off with the Zorga support with Rune Armor Gutter, which is a grade 1 with K power, and that's the card where it's count rearguard guardian if your Vanguard is Zorga with Divine Skill plus 5k power and 5k shield, activate on your opponent's turn 2. I'm surprised this wasn't in set 2, where Zorga Nidar was revealed, but you have no room to run this anyway. But the next card, Sea Scissors of Deep Hades, which is a grade 1 with K power, has a skill act rearguard once per turn if you have at least a grade 3 Vanguard Zorga. Glad it's not restricted to Zorga Nadir or Divine Skill Zorga. Cost, retire 2 other rearguards, choose a normal order from your drop zone and put it back to your hand. Yes, it may seem like it's a -2 for a +1, but considering that Zorga, any version, can revive stuff from the drop zone, this isn't too bad, especially since you can put back all those drop zone recallers like Roaming Prison Dragon or Impending Karma. This cost is practically nothing, but more of a reset. And considering that it's not restricted to Divine Skill Zorga, this makes this even better because most other Zorga decks are going to play Roaming Prison Dragon, so the extra retire is just very nice. And just the fact that you can recycle your order, sometimes the deck will have that issue. And now to new Destined One Alden ride line. Here's the starter, Knight of Heavenly Expression Admis. Yes, we're getting the Evolve ride line, in which we go to the grade 1 with K power, Knight of Heavenly Soul Tricula, which has a skill auto when rolled upon by Everlasting Sky Knight Sadius. Look at top of our card to your deck to choose up to one grade 2 or a creator card from among them, reveal it, put it in your hand, of course shuffle your deck. If you did not put a card, energy charge 2. Kinda nice that we no longer have that restriction where you need different grades from your hand, although this can miss sometimes, so it's just nice that you also can get something out of it. And the energy is pretty nice. In which we go to Everlasting Sky Knight Sadius, which is a grade 2 with 10k power, and the skills auto when rolled upon by grade 3 Alden. Cost Soul Blast 1, look at top card of your deck to choose up to one grade 3 or less card from them and call it to rearguard, of course shuffle your deck. Find it funny that this one is not restricted to Alden with the Divine Skill, but I'm glad that they changed the cost from revealing 3 cards with different grades to just Soul Blast, because this is much easier than doing that. In which we go to the grade 3 with 13k power, Destined One of Protection Alden, which has the skill count Vanguard. When a unit placed by this card's ability is placed on top of another unit, put it to your hand instead of putting it to the drop, which will happen because of this next skills, where the second one is Auto Vanguard. When this card attacks, cost count lost 1, draw a card, choose 1 card from hand and call it to rearguard, and until the end opponent's next turn, it cannot be retired by your opponent's card ability and it gets plus 10k. Feels like Ezel all over again. Basically, the idea is that when you're placing stuff on top of your own units, they don't die in vain. It's something I like, and obviously this is a multi-attack skill, and compared to the original needs to bounce something back and call the total grades of the bounce unit, and sometimes you won't even have that extra card in hand, so just being able to call anything from that one draw is much better than the original by default, and I already like the bounce back. But finally, the Divine Skill, Act Vanguard. Cost Soul Blast 1, look at top 10 cards of your deck to choose up to 2 cards from among them and call them to rearguard, and until the opponent's next turn, they cannot be retired by your opponent's card ability, and of course shuffle your deck. This is obviously a +2, and once again another Soul Blast, so it might get a little Soul Blast heavy, but overall it's not too bad. It's just basically calling more stuff with some protection in it, and I'm glad that for a rearguard reliant deck, it actually gives its rearguards protection, hence the name. But there's really not much to say about this other than just the multi-attack, but everything else relies on its support. Now, it might be a little awkward for its old support, considering that the old support will restand its whole column rather than just one unit, and a lot of its old support wants you to call the total grades of the bounce unit, which this deck is not really doing. So there might be some awkwardness here, but at least that you can still play some of its old support if you can try to build the deck with it. And now for the support, we got Wayfiend Owl, which is a grade 1 with K power, and this is the card where count rearguard guardian. Your Vanguard is Alden with Divine Skill plus 5k power and 5k shield, active on your opponent's turn as well. Too bad that they don't make these with intercepts, because it would have been nice. And then we got Knight of Skyflow's Germit, where it's a grade 2 with 10k power, and the skill is auto when intercept if you have at least a grade 3 Vanguard Alden, shield plus 20k. Considering that you can give these protection, this isn't entirely too bad being a 25k shield interceptor. Just not sure will you actually keep these for in the long run, but considering that you do have protection and 25k shield intercept is actually pretty good. And then we go to Heavenly Defense Dragon Wedge Fluence Dragon, which is a grade 1 with K power. It's the 13k booster your Vanguard is Alden while it's on rearguard, but it's the 15k booster for Alden when it's behind the Vanguard, and it lets you soul charge 1, which can be very helpful to refund some soul. And once again, I'm glad that this is not restricted to the Divine Skill Alden, but you have another unit that can be debatable to put behind Alden. And then we got Heavenly Blade of Liaison Razino, which is a grade 3 with turkey power, and the skill is auto. When placed on rearguard, cost energy by support, draw a card. Hence why you get the extra energy. And of course drawing cards is always good. But the second skill is auto rearguard. When your other unit is placed on top of this unit by the card ability of your grade 3 Vanguard Alden, that unit gets plus 10 key power, and if your opponent's Vanguard is at least a grade 3, cost Soul Blast 1, choose one of your rearguards and stand it. This basically enables you to get another extra attack on top of the Alden superior call. And also, at the moment, this is the main unit that you want to call on top upon, because it gives the extra ability like Jewel Knights, where you can actually go super offensive. Hence, this one gives extra power and another restand. It's unfortunate that this is actually the only card so far that actually has some benefit by being called on top upon. And the stuff that you can do with this with Alden, it's pretty nice, especially the bounce back to hand. Also, it's nice that you can play this with the original Alden as well, because if you do call this on top upon, you could just restand another column, which is another 5th attack column. This is just overall pretty nice because it enables you to go full offensive. And finally, for the Destined One order card, Determine with the Blade of Protection, which you can play it if your Vanguard is Alden with the Divine skill. Choose one of your Vanguards to get this ability into your turn. Auto Vanguard, when this card attacks, cost count last 1, choose up to 1 card from your hand and call it to rearguard. So basically, it's the same as Alden's skill, just gaining another one of the same. Not entirely sure you will have room to run this, especially since you can still get the 5 attacks, but this is just basically extra consistency for even more attacks if you actually need it. And if you combo it with the grade 3, you could basically get an extra booster, and if it's 2 of them, 2 boosters, so it's actually pretty nice, although combining it with some old support, it might be awkward. And finally, here's a secret rare for it, and we got the special energy rare cards. Very surprising that we got Hikari here already, even though Hikari doesn't get revealed until the next set. So that's it for the new Destined One Alden ride line. What do you guys think of it? It is a pretty cool upgrade, I'm not gonna lie, especially that it gives your rearguard protection. It is just a little awkward in playstyle comparison to the original, considering that the original wants you to bounce back and then call 2 cards with the total grade of the bounce card. So it might be weird with some old support. But overall, I do see a lot of potential in this one, especially the Jewel Knight part, where when you call on top of stuff, that card goes back to hand, and if the card that got called on top of can activate some abilities. But on that, there's really not much to say about it, other than cool protection. But on that, that's for this, and see you all next time.